see it. And so then he goes to go back into his house and he looks at our camera and he goes, "Bring me to the store." Hello, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jazzy. This is a part 2 of what is hopefully the finale, but doesn't seem to be, about my neighborhood drama. It really doesn't seem to be, based off of what has gone on since our conversation with the guy that I spoke about in part 1. If you guys haven't seen that video, I 10 out of 10 recommend watching that video before you watch this one, because I thought it couldn't get crazier. Like, I actually thought it was over based off of the last situation, but it's gotten worse since I filmed that video even. Like, it's just, there's just been so much, you guys. You guys are going to die when you hear everything that has happened. So, pretty much, we had that whole interaction with the guy, with her baby daddy. By the way, I'm sorry, my car's got to be on. It is 90 degrees out today, and your girl is not about to sit in the heat to film this. I could do it at home. However, I can't do much at home right now because there's some crazy life happening at home. We will tell you guys. I will tell you guys in a second. So, pretty much the whole situation happened with the baby daddy, and what I didn't mention in the last video was that her parents are in town. They got in town the night before to help her deliver the baby and stuff like that, because she's apparently in labor a couple days ago now, or maybe yesterday even. So pretty much they came into town, and they're a unique style of people, and we didn't have any issues with them. They seemed like nice people, and so we weren't having any issues with them. However, when the guy came to beat on our door, they were inside, like they were in there with her, obviously. So we're not quite sure if the guy decided to like show force because the parents were in town or what, but it doesn't really matter. They came into town the night before. They brought their 3 dogs, and the two, her dad and her mom, they are extremely country. I'll just put it that way. The dad is a drunk. I'm actually just gonna throw it all out there. We didn't know that originally. Well, we kind of did, because he did definitely look drunk when they first got in, but it wasn't like whatever. We don't care. We don't care. As long as he leaves us alone, we're fine. So anyway, they get into town. Then the guy comes and he has this whole spiel with us and with Dominic screaming at him and whatever. If you haven't seen that video, you need to see it. But then we're thinking it's over, right? After the whole guy thing happens, we're like, hopefully this was it, and now she is going to act normal and it will be fine. And I'm not going to say anything bad about her unless she does something else bad, because she did, like, after that interaction, she did nothing. She's done nothing since that interaction. However, her dad is crazy, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Sorry, you guys. So that night, after that whole situation went on, Dominic went outside to walk Sunday, and it was the night of the red moon. So, or I think that's what it's called, right? Where the moon was like eclipsing or something like that. And so Dominic went out. Her mom had already just gone out there, and she had her 3 dogs out there. She was walking them, and they were wandering around because they don't have leashes for them. They seem like they're from the country, so they're used to not leashing their dogs, which whatever. We couldn't care less if you leash your dogs as long as they're nice dogs, and they are really nice dogs. However, if you guys remember, she used to have a dog, and one of the dogs that the mom brought was the same dog she used to have. His name's Bruce. And let me introduce you guys to her Chihuahua. But his name's Bruce, and we heard that one of the dogs' name is Bruce, so I'm assuming that dog's okay. She just sent it back to her parents, which I had thought that maybe something happened to him, which I was sad about, obviously. But remember, she was leaving that dog all day long for like 13-hour stints, and the dog was going crazy. The whole day he was whining. Well, now they have these 3 dogs here, and they've gone in and out of the apartment and left and stuff, and the 3 dogs are quiet as a mouse. They don't, like, they bark a little bit in the beginning, but then they're completely quiet. So I don't know if he was just lonely, which is most likely what it was, and he needed his siblings, but that's besides the point. So anyway, she goes out there and she like says to Dominic, she walks over to Dominic and she said, hey, I just wanted to apologize to you for having the poop in front of your apartment earlier. She didn't bag it and put it in front of our apartment. Like, that's completely different than your dog shitting in front of our apartment and you just not cleaning it up. We couldn't care less. But she did say, like, I really wanted to apologize. I'm sorry, I meant to come out and get it and blah, blah, blah. I don't know because I wasn't there. But that's pretty much how that interaction went. And the reason she brought that up was because while the baby daddy was there, his name, I'm not going to say his name, that would be messed up. But while the baby daddy was there, we were explaining to him that she put someone else's dog poop at our front door, and like, and she said, please pick up after your dog. Meanwhile, she's got 3 dogs in her apartment right now. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. You guys have seen the size of our apartment. And the dogs are coming out here pooping. We couldn't care less. We would never pick someone else's dog's poop up. Or even if it was their dog's poop, which literally it's their dog's poop. We would never pick their dog's poop up and put it at their front door. And so, pretty much, I'm sure she heard that situation, so she was just apologizing for it, and genuinely, she didn't have to. We don't have any beef with her. And so she said sorry, and then she was like, hey, did you happen to see the moon? And Dominic was like, no, where is it? And she, like, brought him over. They both were, like, looking up at the moon together, and it was so romantic. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't. But they both were like, wow, this is so cool. Dominic called me. It just sounded like I was setting up a romance novel. But so Dominic called me and he was like, hey, come out and check this moon out. So I come out and she goes back in at that time, and then while I'm out there, she comes out with her flashlight and she's looking for the dog poop with her flashlight. So I go over to her and I'm like, hey, like, don't worry about it. Like, it's nighttime. You don't need to be out here with your flashlight. We don't care that there's dog poop anywhere. I was just saying the only place we care that it is if she bags it and puts it at our front door with a note saying that it's ours when it's not. And I didn't even go into that much detail. I just said, you don't worry about it. Like, you can get it whenever you want, or don't get it at all. We couldn't care less. And she was like, oh no, like, I want to. Hey, and then she, like, goes into this. She goes, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, I know my daughter. I know she has a temper, and I'm really sorry. I know you guys have had issues. I'm sorry for what the issues are, basically. And so I was like, listen, we don't want any bad beef with her. We just genuinely want her to live peacefully. We want to live peacefully and go about our days being fine. Like, we genuinely don't want anything bad for her. We just don't want anything to do with her, really. And the mom was like, no, I completely understand. I think after the whole first incident with your husband, and she points to Dominic, she was scared of you guys, and I understand why she would be scared of us. But why should she be scared of me? Because I didn't do anything during that incident. But also, Dominic didn't really do anything either. He went down, knocked on her door, she didn't answer. And he didn't knock the way this other guy knocked on our door. He knocked like a normal human being, and he backed up. Because Dominic was very involved in the COVID life at that point, so he didn't want to be near her if she did open the door. Anyway, you guys already know the whole spiel of that. If you don't know, you have to watch all the videos. But anyway, she's like, I think she was just scared of him, and so she didn't want to have a conversation with you guys. And I was like, I understand. I mean, we didn't necessarily want to have a conversation with her either, but she started putting notes on our door and all that jazz. And then I said right out, she called us heavy as F. And so obviously I'm not going to want to have a nice cordial relationship with somebody that says that about me. I'm sorry, it's just not my vibe. And she looked very, like, she looked sorry, but then also I wasn't really sure how to read her at that moment. And also, it wasn't really her place to even have to speak for her daughter. She shouldn't really be the one that's having to speak for her. But then she goes on, because Dominic then says, you know, it's all good, like, we really don't want anything bad with her, congratulations on the baby and all this stuff. And so then she says, oh yeah, baby's coming Tuesday. And then she goes on to tell us that this girl has a hole in her heart. She found out when she found out she was pregnant, and she's very hormonal, so that's another reason she's probably acting like this. And then she tried to excuse away the note that the girl wrote. I'll put a picture of it here. And she tried to say she put this note on your door because she really does want you to get earplugs, because the baby might be loud. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say. I didn't say anything. You guys know I was very nice to this lady, because this lady was genuinely being nice to us. She wasn't saying anything mean about us or anything. So I said, okay, like, that's fine. It is what it is. It's water under the bridge now. At this point, that was months ago. Like, we just want our interactions with her to not occur, honestly, at all anymore. And so she was like, okay, I just wanted you to know, like, she's really just going through a lot. And then, you guys, sorry, you guys, my phone decided it's just overheating left and right because it's so hot in here. But anyway, that ended, that conversation happened, and she was like, I just wanted to let you know she is just going through a lot. She's very hormonal, like I said, and I know my daughter, and she goes, and she's really just not all there, is what she did to her head. And Dominic and I were just standing here like, what is happening right now? And you guys already know, I already had a feeling that she had some sort of mental disorder, and I am so, like, my heart hurts for her that she's dealing with that. But I just couldn't believe her mom, standing right outside of her apartment, is telling these people that she hates, that she has something wrong with her head. Like, literally, this is what the mom said. She's not all there, is what she did to her finger, like, with her head. I just was like, okay, like, that's just too much information. I don't want to know that. However, that's fine. That all happens. Dominic and I, we go on our merry way. We say goodbye to the mom. The mom's such a nice lady, honestly. What do we know, though? She could be two-faced as fuck. She could be being nice to us and then going into the house and telling the lady that we're, like, horrible people or something. But the reality of it is, the mom seemed really, really genuinely nice. And she really gave us so much information. Like, we have too much information. We don't want to know this much about her. Like, I genuinely just think this is weird. This whole thing's weird. So anyway, we go on, and Dominic and I are like, this is fine. We're just going to go about our life. I'll turn the blink camera, or that's what we have for our doorbell camera. I'll turn the doorbell camera off, and we'll just go about our life. Wow, thank God I didn't turn the doorbell camera off right away. I turned my notifications off, but I wasn't going to turn it off completely. I was just going to undownload the app, but instead, I just turned the notifications off, and I kept the app downloaded. So, like, at night, I can check it still. So, anyway, then what happened was, the next day, you guys, her and her mom went somewhere, and her dad was home alone, and he is very clearly an alcoholic. I'm just gonna put it out there. I mean, I don't want to make claims, but he has definitely got his own set of his own issues. But so he comes out the door after they leave, like about an hour or two after they leave, and he comes up to our camera, and he looks at our camera, and he goes, "Hey," is what he says to the camera, and then he goes like this to the camera, just like literally like he's boxing the camera. It was weird. And so I said nothing, because obviously I didn't know that he was doing any of this. Dominic and I were home. We had just gotten home, so he probably heard us come in the door, but I didn't have my Ring doorbell notifications on. And so he does this thing, and then he goes, he rings our doorbell, hits the doorbell to ring it, which we've never done to her doorbell at all. We've only ever done that once, like I mentioned. We only did it the one time when Dominic went down to, it doesn't matter, it's beside the point. But anyway, he rings the doorbell, and then he just stands there kind of like looking, but he's like all like wobbly, like super wobbly. And then we obviously didn't see it, and so then he goes to go back into his house, and he looks at our camera, and he goes, "Bring me to the store." That's what he said. He goes, "Bring me to the store." And then he goes in his house, but we heard him screaming, "Bring me to the store." And so I was like, what is happening down there? So then obviously I check my app, and I pull it up, and he's at our camera being crazy, you guys. And so then after that happened, he puts his backpack on and leaves his house like he's gonna walk himself to the store. And he goes and he sits under a tree. But we thought he went to the store. We were like, okay, he walked to the store, because they only have that one car, and they had taken it. And I'm sure he really just wanted beer. Let's be real. So when we went to leave, we assumed he was gone. Well, we leave our apartment, and he's sitting over under a tree, where, like, he can't miss if we leave our apartment. We are walking to our car, and he yells, actually, I'll put that footage in. I think I have it, where he yells to us. I don't know if I want to put that. That doesn't matter. You guys can see our parking lot, right? I don't feel like that's a big deal. Nah, it probably is. I'll just tell you what he says. He yells to us, you guys going to the store? And Dominic and I are like, no, man, like, we're not, sorry, basically. And so then we leave, and we're both in the car like, what the hell is our life right now? Like, this is a guy, oh, that's the other thing he said on the camera before he went back in the house. He goes, bring me to the store. And then he goes, you know who I am. Bring me to the store. We're like, oh my God, we literally don't know you. We've never met him. We've only ever met the mom, obviously, at this point, and we haven't even met the girl. Like, we've never had a conversation with her. I've said it a million times. Anyway, so he says, bring me to the store, or he says, you go into the store. We say no. So then we go off on our merry way. We go get drinks and, you know, do our usual things that we do, and he goes back in the house. We don't know what happens then. So then later on in the night, the mom and the daughter end up getting back, and they end up going out with him, and he ends up coming back in with his big beer, and or not big beer, but like his bunch of cans of beer, and he holds it up to our camera, and he does this thing. Rock on is what he says to the camera. It was so weird. And so then, that was fine. Like, we're just like, this guy's just a drunk. He's being crazy. Also, though, he is antagonizing us. Like, at this point, like, I'm just frustrated by the whole thing. I just want them to leave. So then he goes back in the house, and that's that for the night. The next day, yesterday, was the craziest day. Literally, I wish I could, I can put it in, I think. I don't think I can put his face in. I can leave it blurred, but you guys can hear his laugh because it was just really scary. So Dominic and I got home from getting a drink, and literally like 5 minutes later after we got home, he went outside and he walked out to her car, and he had parked her car in her normal spot. Like, where she normally parks is way on the other side of the complex, like I mentioned to you guys in the last video, but she does have a designated parking spot next to ours, and she used to park in it, and we didn't care. That's your parking spot. Park in your parking spot. So he goes out 5 minutes after we get home. He gets her car. First of all, mind you, like, literally before we got home, he was out there with a beer in hand. Like, this guy's drunk. And, which is fine. Don't drink and drive. That's not fine at all, obviously. But he's just parking her car, so, I mean, it's still bad. But he goes and grabs her car, and he pulls it up to her parking spot, and he probably takes like 10 minutes to pull that thing back and back into his parking spot, or her parking spot. And then he comes up to our camera, and I'll put the footage in of what he does at our camera, because mind you, I think I said this already, but her car, her parking spot is right next to our car parking spot. And so I don't know if he thinks we have a problem with her parking in her parking spot or what, because we don't know what she's told everybody else, obviously. But the reality is, we couldn't care less. Park in your parking spot. We don't care as long as you don't hit our car. Then we're fine. Then we're not fine if you hit our car. But we've never said that either on camera the way she has. She's literally said on camera, I dare them to hit my car. So, I mean, she's got her own issues. But I'm seeing where her issues are coming from now, because it seems like he's got the same mental issues as she does based off of this clip. Let me just show you guys. Here's the clip of him coming back up to the house after he parked her car. So anyway, moral of all of this is, this isn't over. I want it to be over. Dominic wants it to be over. The guy wants it to be over, baby daddy. But nobody else seems to want it to be over but us. So we'll see if more comes of this. But it just keeps getting crazier. And all I just kept thinking as it went on was like, the content you are providing me is just like, it's content gold at this point. I just wish I could share it. I wish I could show you guys the interactions, because a lot of it you have to see, but I'm hoping I'm doing a good job describing it to you guys. But it's been crazy. We'll see what else goes on. So far, the guy hasn't done anything else. Her dad hasn't done anything else. He's just being crazy, and every time like I leave the house, they can obviously hear when we leave the house. Every time we leave the house, he goes onto the porch and just stands there and leans over their patio and watches me as I'm walking, and watches me walking back. And then he'll go in, like, literally as I'm like passing by, I'll see that he's going into her house then. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's just all weird. It's so weird and scary, honestly. I'm so grateful that, oh shoot, I didn't even tell you guys the big thing about the other neighbor. Oh my gosh, how did I forget to tell you this? So the downstairs neighbor that I told you guys threw trash at our door, the one that not the one down below us, but the one below my friend, she threw trash at our door. I told you guys about it in a couple videos ago, and so we got it on film, and we were like, what's going on? Do we have an issue with this neighbor now too? We had no idea we were having issues with her because she's always been so nice to us. So, and like her and I, like we chat, like we're not friends, that's for sure, but we're friendly. So her throwing trash at us, I was like, is she instigating all of these fights between us and the neighbor? And so I asked her, I literally like pulled over next to her outside of the camera view of the other lady, outside of her doorbell camera, so that she couldn't hear my conversation with this lady. And I said, hey, I wanted to let you know and fill you in on some of the drama that's been going on in the neighborhood, or not in the neighborhood really, just with the people below us. There's been a lot of issues. She's been throwing trash at our house. She's been throwing dog shit at our door. She's been putting notes at our door, and we've been addressing it with her. She's circling her car, all the stuff you guys already know. And the lady was shocked. She was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea any of this was going on. That's terrible. And I said, well, about that, I did see that you had thrown trash at our like walk-up area at one point, and she didn't know what to do. I swear she about shit herself because I don't think she ever expected to be like called out for that. And I said, I just want to make sure like we didn't do anything wrong, and that like we didn't like make you want to put trash at our door, because like I don't understand. If you think it's our trash, like just let us know. I just want to know what's going on there. And she was like, oh my gosh, I never did that. First of all, she said I never did that, but then she fessed up once I said like, well, we saw it on video that you did, so I'm just wondering like what's going on there. And she goes, oh, I remember. Because nobody expects to be called out. I give her grace on that like obviously like she's gonna deny that in the beginning. But then I told her, or she said, what's going on, or what happened was somebody put it at my front door, and I thought it might have been her kids or something, or you guys, like she said, I didn't know who did it, so I just gave it back. I threw it back at you guys' doors because I didn't know who put it at my door. She said she thought it was the lady downstairs, but I'm pretty sure she didn't know who it was. I don't blame her at all, honestly, because I was doing the exact same thing to the neighbor downstairs, thinking that she was putting trash at our door, because she was, and like kicking it back over to her door. So I don't blame the lady downstairs for doing the same thing to us, or like thinking it was us and not knowing who it was. You know what I'm saying? So that whole thing went on where we had that conversation, and then the lady was telling me that I can't tell you guys her name. It's hard to like to differentiate because now there's 3 different neighbors that I'm talking about. But the woman that I called out for throwing the trash said that the other day the craziest thing happened. She was like, the craziest thing happened. Her mom is in town now, and the other day, this lady talked to me for the first time ever. Literally, she talked to me the first week she lived here, and then she never talked to me again. She looks right through me every time she, like, walks by. She acts like I don't exist. But her mom was there, and she said to me, oh, hey, like, I'm due in a couple of days, and, like, she started telling me all this stuff that I had no idea. She's like, I didn't even know she was pregnant, because I don't pay attention to her, because she doesn't look at me, she doesn't talk to me, so I had no idea she was pregnant. And she's talking to me, she goes, it was the weirdest thing. She was talking to me like we were best friends. She was saying, like, oh, I'm due in 2 days, like, you won't see me for a while, is what she said to the neighbor, the other neighbor. And the other neighbor was like, oh yeah, like, you know, she played along obviously, but she was like, it was so weird. She's like, literally, she ignores me, and then now her mom's in town and she's acknowledging me. And what I told the neighbor was, what's happening is she's acknowledging you now because this whole thing went down, and she has to show her family that she has, you know, relationships in the neighborhood, because I heard that situation on our doorbell camera. I heard that interaction with the other neighbor, And that's a part of why I wanted to talk to her, because I was like, okay, they just talked like they were besties. I've never heard this girl, the downstairs lady, be that nice to someone before. I was shocked. I was like, this is a totally different person. What is happening here? So I needed to ask this lady, like, what's going on? Like, are you guys besties? I didn't ask that, obviously, but I needed to know if she was throwing that trash at our door because of us, because at that point I'm like thinking in my head they might be friends and that's why she did it. You know what I'm saying? But she's like, no, we are not. I've never talked to her. She's like, I talked to her the first week, and then her kids tried to talk to me one other time, and she like basically said, oh, sorry, my kids just, they think they have to be nice to everyone. And the lady's like, yeah, like, it's nice to be nice to your neighbors. Like, oh my gosh, you guys. So I'm so happy. Her and I had like a nice long like hour conversation, just clearing the air about it, because I needed to know. I'm happy that now I know that like we're on the same page, even if like I don't really know her that well at all. I'm just hoping we're on the same page. And then obviously I ended up going over and talking to my friend neighbor, and her and I were just gabbing about it. We were just having the best time talking about it, because like it's just been so much drama, you guys. I just can't believe it. This whole thing is shocking to the neighborhood, I feel. But pretty much we're good. I mean, it seems like everybody knows, and then everybody in the neighborhood kind of knows, like, we aren't the type of people that would do the things that she's saying that we're doing, and, like, it just doesn't make any sense why she's doing that, pretty much. So, that's the tea. That's the amount of tea I have right now. She's in labor right now, and she's probably going to be bringing her baby back, so we'll probably have more tea as time goes on. But I feel like at this point, this guy, her drunk dad, who keeps knocking on her door and ringing our doorbell, that's harassment. Like, we're being harassed at this point by everybody. I just don't understand. Meanwhile, I'm sure he's doing it because he thinks we did it. Like, because she was telling them that we were knocking on her door and ringing her doorbell, and we never were. So I'm like, literally ever. We were talking in front of her camera, which is not like wrong. Like, we're allowed to do that. You're literally messing with stuff and not talking to us in person. So this is our only way to communicate with you, is through the camera. But we were not knocking on the door. We were not ringing her doorbell. I've never touched her doorbell. Neither is, well, Dominic, like I said, touched it that once. But like, it's crazy. It's getting crazier by the day. I'm happy I can update you guys here. I mean, if anything, it gives us some good laughs, and I'm sure there will be more to report. But if you guys like this video, give it a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, make sure you don't miss any more of these neighbor updates. I just can't believe we are still giving neighbor updates. Like, I actually can't believe I'm sharing as much as I'm sharing with you guys, but it's baffling me what's going on. Like, when we had our last neighbors and we had issues with them, I never shared any of it with you guys because it was nothing. Like, it was minimal, literally minimal. But this is just absurd. Like, at this point, it's just, you can't make this shit up. It just keeps getting weirder. Okay, you guys, I'll talk to you guys later, and I will see you in my next one.